The drama is heating up here in Colorado. So you got the Colorado governor, John Hickenlooper, had just met up with Jeff Sessions, right? Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, and they were talking about the legalization of marijuana. So you got 8 states in the United States who have already legalized marijuana, plus Washington, D.C., but you've had Sean Spicer, who promised that the Trump administration will have a crackdown on legalized marijuana. He promised it. Then you have the Jeff Sessions, right? That lying piece of shit. That guy, I'm just a good old boy, and I swear I wouldn't do nothing. I swear I say. You have Jeff Sessions, who is very much against marijuana. You know, he makes it sound like you're going to grow horns, and it's worse than alcohol and crack and heroin put together. So fuck Jeff Sessions. Fuck Sean Spicer. Governor John Hickenlooper and Jeff Sessions had a 1-hour-long conversation. So Jeff Sessions is the chief law enforcement officer. He's the attorney general. He's the fucking man when it comes to the federal troops and the federal soldiers who are going to come in. There's 2 quick points. The Colorado, with the budget that was just passed, got what they wanted with the budget. So it wasn't just about the legalization of marijuana. This conversation with the governor, Jeff Sessions, and why the hell Hickenlooper was in Washington, D.C., and the other point I'll have to come back for. Okay, so what we got here is we got a Chamberlain moment, right? One of the that guy goes to Hitler and gets him to sign the as an appeasement, but Hitler was like, look, yeah, we're going to invade the Sudetenlands, right? We're going to go into the Bohemian forest and we're going to invade, but what do you care? It's just a bunch of forest. And then Chamberlain, one sentence that was quoted in the media. So basically John Hickenlooper has this Neville Chamberlain moment. Only Hickenlooper didn't even have a treaty that he could hold up and say there was going to be peace in our times. Neville Chamberlain goes, talks to Hitler. Hitler and him sign a treaty. He comes back and says, hey, there's peace, everybody, chill out. Right? So Neville Chamberlain went ahead and worked all this shit out. Just the fact that John Hickenlooper is having a conversation. Anyways, you have Sessions says, you haven't seen us cracking down, have you? So Jeff Sessions was kind of, winking at him like, hey, you haven't seen us cracking down now, have you? If we were cracking down, you would have seen it. But since you haven't seen it, you haven't seen us crack down. So, we're probably not going to do it, right? No, I don't fucking believe that. They're sitting there saying that their hands are full now with the opioid crisis and then immigration, and really there isn't enough time. Bullshit. This is bullshit. You had Sean Spicer promised. He promised. What I wanted to mention was I just saw a different headline that said that local law enforcement could work in conjunction with federal agencies in order to, perform their crackdown. What the fuck are you guys doing? Colorado, don't you all have any state pride? Coloradans, this is state government versus federal government. Federal government says that we don't have a right to our own bodies. The federal government says we don't have a right to decide what our laws here in Colorado should be, and it's not just Colorado, but it'll be 8 other fucking states. Marijuana is such a this is where all of our federal tax dollars goes, right? So the fact that they're sitting there saying that they'll allow them to work with federal agencies, no, we have to be standoffish with them. We can't allow no fucking, the feds can come in here for interstate commerce and, the USDA and EPA and shit like that, but when it comes to the legalization of marijuana, you got no jurisdiction here. The people have spoken. We've had a referendum, and the first time that Hickenlooper has fucked over the people of Colorado. So here you have, he's at the science fair, but you have activists sitting there calling him Frackenlooper. Don't frack our future. He is fracking our future. He's fracking the hell out of our future. He doesn't seem to understand power. This article said that, he had this conversation, so he thinks that it's unlikely that the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, are going to invade Colorado, but it's possible. Hell, they might do it. Who the fuck cares, right? He's not going to be governor in a year. He don't really give a shit. So both Sean Spicer promised that there would be a crackdown. He promised it. And Jeff Sessions hates marijuana personally, on a personal level, He has like a visceral reaction. He's like, fucking marijuana, God, I fucking hate it. Ugh, And that's spicy, right? Fucking spicy. And Sessions. Hickenlooper, he had a brewing company, so when it comes to alcohol, of course you could have bars. Of course you could drink and get drunk, and then, let's all get be a bunch of fucking alcoholics, right? Hickenlooper needs to make some money. He also used to be a former geologist, but not for the earth, for the oil and gas industry. So this is Hickenlooper. This Hickenlooper, you know, anti-marijuana. It seems like he's very tepid when it comes to marijuana. And then I heard that the federal, you know, they just got all those funds, right? So there was going to be a shutdown, and now all of a sudden Colorado got their funds. So did he go ahead and sell us down the river? Neville Chamberlain at least had a piece of paper. All Hickenlooper got was just Jeff Sessions being cheeky, like, we haven't cracked down on marijuana yet, right? You haven't seen us crack down yet, so clearly we haven't cracked down. That's Jeff Sessions. That's all I got from him. One little aside comment. We haven't cracked you over the head yet, right? So the only fucked up thing about Mr. John Hickenlooper, so John Hickenlooper wants to protect the rights of 100 prisoners. Everybody has a right, you know, to privacy. But we're talking about the Aurora shooters. So there's this guy, he's sitting there saying, my son is dead, and I want to know where my killers are. So when you're protecting killers and rapists, and then they're sending these 100, you know, prisoners out of state, and he's sitting there saying, well, you know, I don't have to tell you where they're at. And they're kind of like, well, I want to know where, you know, my son was killed by this man. If this man gets out, I'd like to know. You know, I'd like to know what the hell is going on with this man. And the Victim Rights Act guarantees victims, and let's see, the legal experts disagree on the rights of the Victims' Rights Act, and they're saying, well, what is it? Maybe it's everybody gets right to privacy, but the victim, I think the victim should take precedence, but we shouldn't be taking away the rights of others. I don't know. This doesn't seem clear-cut to me.